Welcome to the 260 Journey. It's our journey this year through the New Testament. And today we land on Luke 7. I want to read something to you from Chuck Swindoll. These are his words from his commentary on the last story of this chapter. Jesus is in a house with a number of religious people, and a prostitute comes in and washes his feet with her hair. And this is how Chuck Swindoll opens up these final verses in his commentary. I think it's brilliant. He calls it Jesus at his best. While families gather for dinner and close their doors for the night, her workday begins. With saffron scarves and lavender veils, dangling earrings, and a dab of perfume, she dresses herself for show. She survives by her looks, and looks she'll get: a leer, a scowl, a wink, a sneer, all sorts of looks except one, a look of love. She is a prostitute. How many times has her heart ached to be wanted for more than one night? To be valued instead of evaluated, to be prized instead of priced. Her scarlet letter will never rub clean. This day, though, in this chapter, she will meet what she's hardly dared to hope for. She will meet love. She will meet kindness. She will meet Jesus. Into this refined religious party comes a woman, a prostitute, unclean and out of place, and she has taken a risk. And as she finishes washing his feet, all eyes turn to Jesus. Here is the Luke 7 story in a couple verses. Let me read it to you starting in verse 36. Now one of the Pharisees was requesting him to dine with him, and he entered the Pharisee's house and reclined at the table. And there was a woman in the city who was a sinner. And when she learned that he was reclining at the table in the Pharisee's house, she brought an alabaster vial of perfume, and standing behind him at his feet, she was weeping, and she began to wet his feet with her tears, and kept wiping them with the hair of her head, and kissing his feet and anointing him with perfume. The 30 years I ministered in Detroit, we worked with so many prostitutes on the street because of the area that we were in. We saw the hurt and the brokenness, and those that were longing to be whole again. Those who were scared to leave the business because of retaliation by their pimps, and were afraid to leave the business because they didn't know how they would feed their family. They all wanted freedom, but were afraid. And this is that woman in Luke chapter 7. While men were looking at her, I want us to look at three parts of her body for all the right reasons. First, her back. The best seats at this kind of party were at the table and reserved for the host and his friends. This woman didn't have a shot to sit at the table. But these kind of parties in this time can have bystanders, but they have to stand at the wall with their back against the wall as observers. This woman was one of them. Her back was on the wall. She must have thought about what happened earlier in her own town, that a funeral was interrupted by Jesus when he resurrected the body of a young boy, and she is close to the one that resurrected the dead. Now she has a decision to make. Does she take her back off the wall and go closer to that table and maybe give it a chance? She is close to being free. And will she take her back off the wall? She does. The second part that I noticed about this woman is her hair. Today, if you were single and want to know if someone is married or not, you look at their left ring finger. This wasn't the case in the first century. You would look at a person's hair, a woman's hair. If a person's hair is up, it means they were available. If the hair was let down, it meant that they were married and they were taken. Every prostitute had their hair up because it let them know that they were available. But on this day, she let her hair down so she could wash her feet with it. She was saying, I want to be a taken woman now and taken up with this man that's sitting at the table. Not just her back and not just her hair, but finally her eyes, or more specifically, her tears. How much can a person really actually cry? Enough to wash Jesus' feet? That would seem like a really good cry. But most say that a good cry is about 1 to 2 cc's in a little tiny bottle. It's not near enough to wash Jesus' feet, but that's not what happened. She didn't put her eyes on Jesus' feet, but she did something else. She broke open what is called at that time a tear bottle. Barbara Bowen, in her book called Strange Scriptures That Perplex the Western Mind, said this, that every person had in their possession, whether princes or paupers, had a tear bottle, that they would actually put and bottle their tears from painful situations, holding that bottle to their eyes, catching their tears and corking them up. Think about what this woman did. She held in her hand all those painful moments that maybe represented years, and who knew how many countless situations where she cried and didn't know who was able to handle this pain for her. Who could she get to give her pain and tears to? She found him. She broke open that bottle and put her pain at Jesus' feet. She had a choice to either try to manage those tears herself or pour it at the feet of Jesus. But why his feet? I think Hebrews 2:8 tells us this: you have put all things in subjection under your feet. All things go to the feet of Jesus. She took her back off the wall. She let down her hair and broke open that tear bottle. And that day she found forgiveness. One person said this about tears: tears are prayers too. They travel to God when we can't even speak. This woman found the feet of Jesus. That's where her tears belong. That's where my tears belong. It's too much for me to handle my own tear bottle, my own painful situations. But every day I want to break open that tear bottle and present it to the presence of Jesus and at the feet of Jesus. That's what we're challenged to do by this woman who took her back off the wall, took her hair down that day, and put those tears at his feet. Thanks for joining the 260 Journey.